Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Longley. Remember to like, follow, subscribe on all of those social medias. Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for the show, and Lightstyle Studio for our studio here. And if you guys haven't noticed yet, we do have merch, so feel free to send us a message, get one of your own. And if you have any concerns, questions about the merch, you want maybe come on the show, know somebody who'd be a good fit on the show, anything like that, our email address is longley'sline@gmail.com. And as you know, we like to bring on guests from all different facets of the entertainment industry. And today is no different. Today I have Blaize Abuntori. Blaize, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Before we get rolling into anything that we're going to talk about today, go ahead and promote your socials, where you want people to find you, your business, anything like that.
All right, so my name is Blaize Abuntori, and I run the Reno Burrito Project, which is a nonprofit that provides meals for the homeless community. And you can find us on Reno Burrito Project on Instagram, on Facebook. We also have our website, www.renoburritoproject.com. And for me personally, I am Kim B. Blaize for my Instagram, and basically Blaize Abuntori on any social media platform.
Anywhere you can find it.
Anywhere you can find it.
Perfect. And we were kind of talking about this a little bit off mic before this got started. Where are you from originally?
So I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa, and I came to the U.S. in 2019 for my master's at the University of Nevada, Reno.
Okay.
For statistics and data science.
Oh, wow. So what were you doing back in West Africa? What was kind of your interests while you were there, aside from schooling?
So at that time I was pretty nomadic. I used to travel around a little bit. So before I'd been in America in 2012 for a little bit, went back, finished school, and then I traveled to Cameroon, which is also in the West African area, where I did my master's over there, got back to Ghana. Then I went to live in Italy for 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Then I went back to Ghana, and then, I decided I wanted to learn how to stay in one place for a long time because I was just moving around too much and, just dipping my hands in so many things that I didn't feel like I was making a lot of progress in anything, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, not setting roots anywhere.
Not setting roots anywhere. So I decided that, okay, I want to come to America. And fortunately, I was good at school, and, I applied to a bunch of schools, and UNR popped up, and they accepted me. And I was like, what is Reno?
Yeah.
And, I got here, but then the decision was to learn how to stay in one place and try to make an impact by, forming roots and connecting to people on a deeper level. Because if you live in a place and you usually spend a year only there, you just learn the experience of not really trying to commit to having strong relationship, because you're going to be gone and next time. So I was just interested in traveling, but I always try to find an opportunity either through school or some kind of internship or something to give me the opportunity to go and travel to different places. So in the past 5 years I've been here, and that's
laying down the roots here.
Laying down roots, and I feel like I'm ready to try and travel a little bit within this year or starting next year.
The nomadic lifestyle just hasn't faded away.
Yeah, but not necessarily nomadic, but just dip my toe a little bit in other countries and stuff, and get that same energy I used to get from moving around.
And what was it like just growing up in Africa? What was that kind of like?
So growing up, I grew up in, and this kind of ties also a little bit into the Reno Burrito Project, but I grew up with 5 siblings. Okay. And we grew up in a 2-bedroom house, but we always had cousins and relatives and people living in the house. So the least we were in a 2-bedroom house was probably 14, you know. Wow. And we just lived as a big community. You knew everybody around, and I also grew up watching a lot of movies from different parts of the world, and Hollywood was one of the big ones that I grew up watching. I always wanted to enter into the arts and entertainment and that kind of stuff. But should I say, unfortunately, I was smart, so I had to do like science and math and all of those
Yeah.
kind of things. So I've always loved movies, taking pictures, kind of being creative, drawing and that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, I just started doing, my undergrad was in math, my master's was in math, and, I kind of like faded away. So right now I'm trying to get back into it and actually started an acting class at Take Two recently. So
Trying to get the acting bug
yeah,
kind of taken care
yeah,
of.
yeah.
What kind of movies were you watch? Do you have any that stuck out to you, like that you watched on repeat or anything like that?
So growing up, I usually liked. Have you heard of Count de Monte Cristo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
That
Like
was a big
growing
one.
up, I just have like a bunch of them. Like Leonardo DiCaprio was someone that was interesting to me. So Shutter Island was like
Yeah.
an amazing
That's a
movie
good
that
one.
I could watch. And I'm also that kind of person that I can watch movies over and over again. Like when Dune came out, the first time it came out, I watched it 3 times. The second time I've already watched it twice, and I might watch it again. I just watched Godzilla twice again. So
Yeah.
I'm that kind of person who gets into movies. The only movies that I don't watch or I try not to watch like are horror movies. Like,
Not a big horror movie
I'm not
fan.
a big horror movie fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm similar in that way where I don't go towards the horror movies. I'm more of like the comedies and things like that. Like there's a movie Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser where he meets the devil and she grants him 7 wishes, but every wish that he gets, she messes with him a little.
Oh, okay.
And it's just fun. And my wife and I recently showed our kid that, and the entire time she's glancing over at us because we're quoting the entire movie
Wow.
as it goes on, and we're just
You guys know everything in this movie. Yeah.
so I completely understand just rewatching
Yeah,
movie and
yeah.
movie again, and you see something new.
Exactly.
Every
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And did that while you were growing up too, kind of sticking with the mathematical side of things, you always kind of had the acting bug or creative bug just kind of sitting in your head?
Yes, I always had it sitting in my head, but I never took the step, to actually start getting it going. So when I actually got back from Italy, I remember I was working at the European Food and Safety Authority, which is like kind of the CDC or
Okay.
yes, over here. And I got tired of sitting behind the computer and just like writing a bunch of code because I was a data analyst. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to Ghana and I'm going to be a photographer and I'm going to try to create documentaries and all of those kind of stuff. I saved a little money and, I thought it was enough. And then I went home and I got very broke.
Yeah, it's never
Um,
enough.
So I realized that, and you also realize that when you want to do these projects, they're a bit costly, because being creative is like is a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
And so after a little bit, I realized that okay, I didn't want to be a struggling artist for the rest of my life. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm good at math, I'm good at data analysis and statistics and all of that kind of stuff. So I decided that I want to be able to feed my goal and my dream of being in the entertainment industry and that kind of stuff. But I also I don't want to be stuck because I didn't have the money to, to pay for it or to
Right.
get to it. So I decided I was going to come here to the US, and the goal was to become a data scientist. And at
Okay.
that time, they said when I looked at LinkedIn and all of those times, when you get to like the top data scientist position, it's about like $250,000 a year. So I was like, okay, so if I come here, do my master's and do my PhD, and I get this job, and even if it takes me 10 years, it's good enough because
Yeah.
when I go back to Ghana, I can actually invest in stuff like that. So that was the goal. And I finished the master's. I've not gotten the PhD yet. And, I'm still in that process. I don't know whether I'll still, get a PhD or not, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Kind of
But
want to step back from the numbers a little bit.
step back from the numbers for a little bit. But then also, right now, just getting a better income and all of those things, I've started investing in cameras and gear and taking acting classes and trying to meet people who are doing all of these things, volunteering to be on the sets of other people.
Yeah.
And so just dipping my toe in that world for a little bit while I also build my capacity to be able to sustain the dream that I want to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes people are there and they just jump all into it, and there is me who is like, okay, you know what, let me have this thing on the side so that I don't drown. There's this saying that I heard that nothing kills a dream faster than the need to make money out of it right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's Mel Robbins that said that. And when you are anxious about trying to do that and also trying to survive, it's a little bit difficult. So I decided I want to take care of that aspect of my life, and I'm still in that process of doing that, and building myself and getting ready to see how I can dive into the realm of entertainment, public speaking, inspiring people to change, to make the world a better place, all of that stuff.
Yeah. I think it comes with it too, kind of how you were saying. You always focus on money and the thing that you want to do. If you make that your job, then it kind of takes it away from it, because now you're like, well, I need this to make money. But you kind of have to do it for the love of the game sometimes, and that's kind of the idea, where everybody has their day jobs, and the term struggling actor comes from everybody having a day job because they need to make money. And unfortunately, with the acting career, you're going to get 1,000 no's before you get that one yes. But it's still, when you get that one yes, you hold on to it for as much as you want. Like, you never want to let it go. I get that completely. But that's also the smarter way to do it, because if you dive right in, you're not going to have money, and you kind of need money to sustain life. Which I can put, but it sounds like you're taking the right steps to get that going.
I believe that there's, in math we know that there's there's so many ways to get to the number 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0.99 plus 0.001 is also 2. So everybody has a different path to achieving things. But also, you talk about something that is important to me, which is the fact that people have to be struggling artists because they do not have the funding to do that. And I hope maybe in future I get to the point where I have a lot of money so that I can be that person who can create that environment that people who are artists don't need to be struggling artists. They have some space that allows them to be able to be creative and all of that kind of stuff. Because you look at, for example, Chadwick Boseman. Denzel Washington paid for his his education, and it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to the movie industry. And you can see how one person's decision to invest in somebody else's life can create a big change. So
which you would hope to be that driving force someday. Once you have yourself so established, then you can help the other kids that are coming in that are starry-eyed and want to do the same thing you're doing, and help them out a little. And if we never had Chadwick Boseman, we never would have had Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, any of the other big parts that he played, and gone way too soon.
Way too soon.
Way too soon. Do you have any, aside from kind of bringing up Chadwick Boseman, do you have any sort of idols that you kind of want to follow your career after? Like how we were talking earlier, where I don't care to be a Brad Pitt or Leo DiCaprio, I just want to be a working actor. So it's like those names like Ron Perlman or Keith David or somebody like that, where they are established, they work, they're constantly just churning out something new, and they get to do something they actually want to do instead of being just this huge star.
So I'm taking acting class because I know that I want to be behind the scenes. So I don't know which role I'm going to play in the movie industry, but I don't think I'm an actor material. But maybe that's just me being scared. This is the first time I'm doing it.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Get out of my comfort zone. But I think that what I want to do, or the person that I see myself as, is I want to be, I had this friend in high school who was this amazing person, and I asked him like, "Won't you stand for like student president or something of that sort?" And he was like, "Blaize, I don't want to be student president. I want to be that guy who is behind helping everybody make things happen. And like nobody needs to know who I am. Nobody needs to know my name, but." Just being that foundation there that is like, a quiet rock that is just like, helping and making things move for other people who have different kinds of talents. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to be that kind of person, who, creates spaces for people to shine and, really blossom to all that they have to be. And, if some shine comes on me, that's okay. But then, the goal is to be how can I be a vessel for other people to show more of themselves?
Try and stay under the radar, but if you get on the radar, it's not.
I don't mind. Yeah,
That makes sense. So, kind of to bounce back a little bit, one thing I was curious, how was your time in Italy while you were there?
Italy was one of the most amazing experiences for me ever. And I was actually talking to a friend today, and we're just talking about like our life goals and plans. And I was saying that I want to make sure I get some property in Italy, so like when I retire, it's like one of the places I want to live.
Yeah.
At least like 3 months to half of the year over there is just amazing. Everything like thought was put into it. It's just beautiful artistically. One day I'm walking with my friends and I look at the street and I look at the bricks that were laid, and they're all in concentric circles.
Really?
All of them, and you have to place them perfectly that way for them to
Yeah.
go in that way throughout the whole street. Every single thing had intention in it, and it's just amazing to see that. And every single city has something beautiful to offer you, and the food is amazing. It was just a wonderful time.
Highly recommended.
I highly recommend it. Yeah.
That's been one of the places to go on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen it on screensavers.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
about as far as I've gotten.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So it sounds like you've done your traveling around. When you came here and you kind of landed in Reno, kind of saying, well, I don't even know what Reno is, did you have any other sort of aspects on where you were going to go? Like, did any other states or cities pop up as well, or it was mainly just Reno was there, so you took it?
Yeah, so Reno was there, so I took it. And I also made up my mind that I was just going to pick a place, and I didn't really have any other place in mind, So, sometimes you just make a decision and then you kind of stick to it, and you see it, you watch it go, and it's been. In August will be 5 years, so it's been good so far. And talking about the Reno Burrito Project, which is another aspect of me that I was able to live just because the Reno community was so supportive of it.
Yeah.
As I said, it was it's supporting the homeless community. So the way it all came about was when I first got here, my friends picked me up and they were taking me home, and then I see a bunch of people on the streets pulling carts, sleeping. So I asked my friends who are these people, and they told me, oh, they are homeless people. And it was just so surprising to me because if you watch Hollywood movies, John Wick, the homeless guy is the master of whispers or something of that sort. And it's actually some,
Yeah,
cool
some big wig.
some big wig somewhere. But this was not something I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
And the questions I asked myself was, okay, where's their family? Where's their community? Where's their village? Why is nobody taking up and helping out? Because I told you, growing up, 2-bedroom house, over 14 people, everybody helps everybody.
Yeah, full of community.
Full of community. So that kind of got me thinking. And so I was like, okay, I don't have a house that I can, invite people into, but, food is something that is important in our culture, and we kind of share it a lot. And so there came a point in time where I I knew that I wanted to do this, and it was kind of a struggle because, as a teaching assistant at that time, I was only making $16,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult to try to like see, okay, if I pay my bills and do all of this, how much am I left with? And so I got to a point where I was like, okay, you know what? I want to do this. I want to give back to the community. I want to like share a little bit of what my culture feels like in this space. So I made a decision to spend $20 a week giving back to the community, and whatever is left, I use it to take care of my stuff. So around that time, I grew an afro, and people didn't know why I grew an afro. I was like, imagine if I took a haircut every week, like,
Yeah.
So I didn't cut my hair. And so when I decided I wanted to spend $20 a week, then the question was like, what am I gonna like use it for? So around that time, my roommate was from Syria at that time, and I asked him that I wanted to eat a shawarma. Do you know what a shawarma is?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
And there seems to be no shawarmas in Reno.
No.
So we drive around and we didn't find any. And he told me that, okay, there's something that you might like. It's called a burrito. And I'm like, what's the burrito?
Yeah.
So he takes me to Roberto's and then
That's a place to go.
gets me a carne asada burrito. I'm like, okay. And then, I take one bite and oh my God.
Sold.
It was heaven in my mouth. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? This is so beautiful. All the different tastes, and it was just amazing. So I fell in love with it, and then I had this idea to spend $20 a week. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll buy burritos with it. At that time, a burrito was like less than $5.
At that time, yeah.
At that time, so I got 4 of them, and then handed it out within the next like 10 minutes, within a few meters, and the first person I met was like, oh my God, like, I always wanted to eat some burritos from Roberto's, and this is amazing. The person was so happy that for the burrito that day. And, I felt like, oh, this is amazing, but it just felt like not enough.
Yeah.
So I thought like, okay, what if I bought the ingredients and cooked it? I should be able to get a little bit more than just 4 burritos. So I got a recipe from my roommate, then I called a friend, and then they took me to Walmart. And when I went there, they saw me like with this big, like 10 pounds of beef and like tortillas and all of those things. So my friend was like, hey, what are you going to do with all of this food?
Yeah.
And then I tell them a little bit of what I was going to do, and they were like, oh, you know what, we are interested, we want to come and help you, make it and distribute. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So on a Thursday, they come to my house. I have the food cooked. I have like the beef recipe all done, tortillas, everything is ready, and then it's time to roll the burritos, and then we go like, do you know how to roll a burrito?
Not very well.
But actually, none of us knew how to roll a burrito.
Yeah.
And it's much harder than you think.
It takes a little skill.
Wow. So we're just sitting down there. So I call my friend from Kenya. His name is Humphrey. And I go like, hey, Humphrey, do you know how to roll a burrito? And he's like, no, bro, I don't. But I know somebody who does. So he calls another person called Christina, who was the roommate at that time, and she used to work at Laughing Planet. So and they make a bunch of burritos over there. So she and Humphrey were kind enough to come to my place, and we rolled the first burritos. We made 15 of them.
Nice. Okay.
And then we drove around and then handed out the burritos. At that time, I had made the decision that I wanted to do it every single week. So, it just continued every single week. And, 15 now moved to 50 burritos. So I now had to start spending like $60 a week, which was like far beyond the budget that I had put for it. But, it kept going. And, that's the thing about, making decisions and sticking to it. Sometimes you have to like make other sacrifices that you didn't anticipate. But one day, my landlord sees me and Humphrey rolling some burritos down the street, because the other people who had cars did not come, and we just still wanted to do it. And so he asked me like, hey, what are you guys doing? And I tell him that, oh, we make burritos and hand it out to the homeless community. Yeah. And he asked like, how long have you been doing it? It's like, oh, for about 2-3 months now. And he was very happy about what we're doing. When I get back home that day, he asks me, how much do you pay for this? And I tell him, and he's like, you know what? From this day onwards, I'll pay for all of the ingredients for this. And that took like a big weight over my chest.
Nice.
Then he introduced me to Nico from Biggest Little Streets. Is this page on Instagram where they highlight a lot of stories on their community. So he comes to my place. We do a little interview, and then he posts it, and all of a sudden, this goes boom.
Just blew right up.
It just blew right up, right up. And at that time, because I was a student, I was afraid that, the way it blew up, I was kind of scared. So I sent an email to my department and go hey, I'm doing this thing, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are cool with it so that nothing happens. And so the lady working at that time was like, oh my God, this is amazing. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Is it okay if I send this as an email to the emailing list of the university? And so she sends a big email, and then it goes to all departments, and all of a sudden more students get interested in helping out and making this grow, and it just started growing. Now I didn't know what I was doing. The thing was okay, you know what? I've decided to do this, and I'm just going to show up.
Yeah.
So I showed up, and people came in and started helping. At that time, I had a mentor called David Meltzer, and he was also very instrumental as to helping me manage the growth of it, because we moved from 4 burritos to 15 to 100, all the way to 500, 600 burritos a week.
Wow.
With thousands of volunteers coming in.
That's great.
So, there's a saying that I learned from my mentor at that time, is enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. And this was a potential of creating, an organization that has now, at this moment, we've provided close to 59,500 burritos, and by the end of this month, we should be hitting the 60,000 mark for the number of burritos we've provided, and it's actually our 4-year anniversary this month also.
That's great.
And so it's about showing up and knowing that there is something within you that there's a potential that you can pursue, and just being curious. And it's not that it wasn't hard or it wasn't difficult or anything of that sort, but at the end of the day, when you trust the process and you are enjoying who you are becoming as you are going through this process, it allows you to be able to go through all the challenges that come along with such a thing. So
you saw it, kept through it, were persistent about it, and just knew something might come from it.
Something might come from it. And a lot of beautiful people and amazing people have come in to join, to help make this happen, because it truly takes a village to be able to do something like this.
Oh yeah, trying to do all of that yourself.
No, it's completely impossible. So there's just a lot of amazing people in the community, and just the love and support from the Reno community really made it happen. Because if they didn't come in and pitch, and I remember when we wanted to go to 100 burritos a week, we we did the calculation, and we were okay, we need $6,000 to provide 100 burritos a week, and then we put it out there, and in less than 3 days we raised that $6,000 from the community.
Wow.
And I'm wow, the community is showing up, and people are showing up. And it's just been amazing seeing all the things that we've been able to do. And this was an aspect of me, when I talk about my plans and my goals. Philanthropy and giving back to the community was supposed to happen maybe 10, 15 years later on, after I gotten some things.
When you had the budget for it.
When I had the budget for it. But it just happened that it happened right now, much earlier than I thought. And sometimes you can decide to fight what's coming, or you go with the flow and then see where it goes. And it's gone to a very beautiful place.
That's great. You just kept your head down and kept working on it.
Kept my head down and kept working.
That really resonates with me as well. In a certain way, I used to work at a retirement home. And in that retirement home, it was an active living one. So, it was pretty much just an apartment building for the elderly. So I was working in the restaurant that was there, and at the end of every shift, you get a meal. 9 times out of 10, there was leftover food everywhere. So I always asked, I was like, what are you doing with the food that's here? And they're like, oh, we're just going to toss it. We don't need it. Can I just take it? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I'd get giant sandwich bags, fill it up with whatever we had, and I'd would do the same thing. I'd drive around the street, see if somebody was asking for food or money, roll my window down like, hey, are you hungry? Like, yeah. Cool. And just give them sandwich bags of stuff. There's that rewarding feeling of helping those that are kind of down on their luck. You never know what's going on with them, but they, might just be down on their luck a little bit, and a little bit of free food helps.
No, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. And, when you start something like this and, every single week you're showing up, and then the first few months or year, you don't know if you have like existential questions like, okay, is what I'm doing making an impact? Is it actually doing anything good? And you go through all of those processes and all of those thoughts. But I can tell you that like right now, I've seen people who we served come in and help us make burritos and go and serve it to other people, and tell us stories about how they remember the day, like, it was one of their worst days, and, they were just, like, they didn't know, like, where the next meal was coming from, and then one of our volunteers handed them a burrito, and it was, like, something that they would remember. And I still meet other people today who tell me stories about that.
Yeah.
Of how our burritos meant to them during the process where they were there, and now they've been able to recover, and they've gotten to a point where they're getting things together. So it just shows that random acts of kindness add up. I think it adds up. It's not just the Burrito Project that is doing this kind of stuff. There's like so many mutual aids and so many nonprofits helping out in this community.
Yeah.
And I think that's and also just random individuals. And I think that all of us have a role to play in adding up to the support system that people did not have that brought them to that place.
Yeah,
and then
to a low point.
To that point, and now hopefully it helps out to the point where they can come out of it.
Yeah, just need that little bit of something.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of stories that stick out in your mind where somebody where that had happened, where they had gotten fed and then they came back to you the next week and all of a sudden now they've landed on their feet? Have you had anything that kind of stuck out? Not
in a week, but
sure, that's
in a period of time. So, I mean, there's this one particular person that I remember who, I didn't know his situation. I remember we had given him some burritos before, and as I said, the burrito is not necessarily the thing that caused the change, but one of those things. And I remember he walked into our house to help roll the burritos, and it was just amazing to see him walk into the house, come and help us make burritos. And he learned how to cut hair, so he now he had got in a car, so he would also go out and then set up a barber stand and also cut people's hair. And
nice.
It was just amazing to see that. Also, we had people I've had a bunch of people come in and have. And one of the most amazing stories that was also very good was there was this lady who was going through a process getting out of a situation, and one of the things that could help her was a car, right? And there was another volunteer who was it? His name is Jack, and he had a car that he wanted to give to somebody. Right, and so he's we are here rolling burritos, and there's somebody there talking about one of their clients who needs a car, and Jack is oh yeah, I have a car that I want to give out to somebody, and then they just meet, and then the person gets a car, and their life is now on another level, moving towards what they want to do. So
that's great.
Those little things all add up, in some sense. Yeah,
it, like how you said, it's not the thing that made it completely switch, but it's something little that helps with the building blocks, just those little bits of kindness that can go a long way.
Yeah.
And now that you've got everything more established, do you have an idea of also kind of changing if you want to do a different style of food, or if you want to say incorporate something maybe you made from Africa or anything like that? Because when you asked if I rolled burritos, I make them for lunch every day, and I only make 5, and that's taxing in itself. I know how tough that can be. Do you have any other sort where you might want to incorporate Like another style of food or anything like that?
Right now, not really. We've played around with breakfast burritos at some point, and we've done some quesadillas a little bit. But I think right now, like the system that we've put in place for making burritos, it's still great. Now we do it every other week also. So it's actually gotten to the point, I think the people that we serve still love it. And it's not something that they get every day or something of that sort. And one of the things is that our burritos come in warm. Now, a lot of
Right.
foods that people give out is not necessarily warm. They're like, sandwiches or like, pizzas, and they're not necessarily like, people don't have like,
Any way to
people don't
heat
have
'em up.
microwaves to heat them
Yeah.
up and all of those kind of things. So it's something different when people are able to get burritos, and the way we have our system placed, and like how we have everything set up, it actually is still warm by the time it gets to the people that we serve. And
Yeah.
up to this day, last week we were there, and I remember there's this guy who had the burrito, and it's like, yo, my guys, this burrito is awesome, bussin', like, it was just amazing to see him.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want another one? It's like, yeah, bro, I want another one. Of
course I do.
And it's just great to see that we built a system where we have people who cook the food, make the beef, make the rice, make the beans, and then we come together and we all like put it all together, and it's just made in the spirit of love. We play great music while we are doing that, African music, of course,
Sure.
and just the vibe is just that kind of love and community that I felt growing up, where we are all coming together in the spirit of kindness. I always say this, that do not underestimate the power of kind people in large numbers. Like me as one person, I could not have done this, but right now we've had probably over 3,000 volunteers.
Wow.
Come in and help us, and there's this core team of amazing people. We have a president, now President Devin. We have like Fatima, Nirel, Nick, Laurel, and Jacob, who are part of the core team, and we have like somebody who's now in our media team called Imani, and all of these people like do a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. Then on the next step, we have those who commit to making food. Charlotte makes like a ton of beans, which is, I used to make those beans, and that was like a nightmare. And she was just God sent, because I think I was on my breaking, almost on my breaking
This is the
point.
last bean.
And then she came in and then saved the day, and then, Fatima cooks a lot of beef too. Now Antonia has joined that also, and we have Jennifer, and, I had this family that they lived about 30 minutes away, and they would cook beef and bring it out to us.
Wow.
And they pay for everything, and
Yeah.
they drive 30 minutes out to bring out that. And one time I actually sat down and calculated it, and it was almost about $6,000 worth in over the period of time that they've done that. And it was just out of the kindness of their heart, taking time out of their life to do this. And it's just amazing to see how, when there is a space and an opportunity for people to serve, people set up. And, going back to what I said, creating a space where people can find it easy to come and be a part of a community, that they can express the kindness part of them.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody wants to be kind. I think when we don't see somebody in pain and we go like, okay, I don't want to do it. We might have like some reservations, but deep down in our heart, we all want to be of service. But sometimes we don't know how to, we don't know where to go, we don't know how to start, we don't know what to do. And so the Burrito Project, in my mind, is crafted in a way that creates that environment where it is easy to be a part of, it is easy to show up, it is easy to do something. You came and you rolled 20 burritos, and you actually impacted somebody's life.
Yeah.
You cooked 2 pounds of rice, and you've actually contributed to somebody's life. So it's that's what we stand for, creating the opportunity for people to serve, and also being able to serve the community that we reach out to.
That's awesome. So it sounds like, with everything that you've got going on, you said you were at your 4 month?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. I thought I heard month
4
at first,
months,
and I
that's
was
crazy,
like, escalated quickly.
No, I mean, I would have died 1,000 deaths, because at that time I was doing my master's at that time.
Yeah.
And somewhere in between, I was working and doing my master's at the same time. So that was that was something.
That would have been tough.
That was tough. I remember one night, at the time I was working in the restaurant industry. I had a night shift. I come back home. After the night shift, you have to like clean up. I come home at around 1 a.m. or something, and somebody had dropped off, cans of beans and rice and all of that right in front of the door, and I had to take them inside. I remember I sat in my car and looked at it, and just asked myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, literally, I asked myself, why am I doing this? I put everything back in, set up the day for the next, and I was just still in that moment, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And people started showing up, and we started rolling the burritos, started playing music, and I felt the energy of that community, and that reminded me, okay, yeah, this is why I do this.
Picked you back up, and you was like, okay, this is why this is going on. That's amazing that you've got this going on. Do you have? You said at first it was coming out of just your house and you were kind of doing it from there. Do you have a space now where you do it, where it's in a nice kitchen? Do you do a food truck? Like, kind of, how do you go about presenting everything?
So the first 2 years was in the house that I lived with 2 other roommates. So I learned very well. I learned to be a negotiator very, very well, because I had to manage 2 roommates and a landlord who they were like on his neck about me and everything I was doing. So I mean, I learned so many skills of managing all of that.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I was like, okay, when we reach the 2-year mark, we have to get out of the house there. And it was very, very uncertain at that time. So we actually took a week or 2 break. And then fortunately, Laughing Planet, who we've been working with throughout this period, they help provide beans for us also.
Okay.
They opened up their kitchen to us to work a little bit over there. So we were there for about maybe a month or something of that sort. And then Fatima, who's one of the core team members, who's somebody that is absolutely amazing. And I mean, I think for me personally, it's one of the how shall I put it, the pillars that gives me strength, because she's so supportive. She's like my mother, sister, cousin, friend, all rolled up in one.
Yeah.
She was able to build a relationship with this place called the Center of Influence.
Okay.
And they had a little kitchen, a little space kind of kitchen underneath their building. And also at that time, we're now able to get our 501c3 status. And so they were able to, it just happened at a very opportune time, at the very time that we needed it.
Yeah.
And everything worked out together, and we now have that space that can, house at least, we can have about 60 volunteers come in, and we'll still be able to manage that space, but that could have never happened in the house that I was in before.
Yeah, right place, right time.
Right. And that's one of the things that I realized about these things. Sometimes you start and then you're like, okay, you start thinking about the future, maybe putting all the blocks and sabotaging yourself even before it even started. But at the end of the day, what I said, enjoying the process, putting your head down and just showing up, you realize that doors begin to open, people begin to show up. Some of them close, at some moment you're at the brink of, okay, what's going to happen? And before you realize, something opens up. So, it comes to all of these things, when you have dreams and goals and aspirations and all of those kind of stuff, you can sabotage yourself by trying to think into the future and solving all the problems, instead of going down and say, what can I do today, what can I do now, and let's move forward one step at a time, and let life open and close doors, and move us in the right direction.
Yeah, overthinking for the future instead of just thinking about the present that's going on right there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And we're kind of on that note with the expansion of how you're hitting that 4-year mark and everything. Do you have any sort of additional goals on what you want to see it go from? You've already kind of grown and expanded so much. Do you have any sort of place that you see it going to, or kind of any ideas that you have of wanting it to vastly grow anything like that?
So one of the biggest goals for me, like say in the past 4 years, is also like succession. Like, what would happen if I'm not around? So, like I told you, in the next few weeks, I'll be out of town for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And this will be the first time I'll be out of town for the first 3 months. So it's exciting to see that there is a bunch of people, a bunch of like really people who are amazing to me who are going to take over this and make it work. And I don't think people realize how difficult it is to create continuity in things. And I'm excited to see how that goes. So that was a big goal of mine throughout this period. Like, okay, how can we create a systems? How can I remove a lot of things from me and like delegate it in a way that my absence wouldn't be that missed, or like cause as a missing piece will cause everything to crumble.
Yeah, you can let it just flow.
You can still let it flow. I mean, like 2 years ago, probably there was no way I could go anywhere.
Right.
And so that goal is going to be tested and like within this period, but I'm very confident that it will go through well. The next thing that I think about in my personal growth in this aspect is also, we talked about empowerment and coaching and all of those kind of things. I think that my overarching goal, right, I have two things on my board that I look at, and my vision is to empower over 100 million people to be the light and change they want to see in the world by being the light and change I want to see in the world. So you can see the Burrito Project is a light and change I want to see in the world. And the way I do is I want to do this and hopefully to inspire other people to do it.
Right.
The next one is to create and co-create a lot of money, create over 500,000 wonderful jobs, or create and co-create over 500,000 wonderful jobs with wonderful pay, where people are happy, healthy, full of life, and together we can help make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And so those are like my two biggest visions that, blows my mind up. And I don't know what I can achieve them, but in relation to your question with the Burrito Project, I feel like it gives me an opportunity to be able to go and talk to people and be able to inspire people on a mission of kindness, because I really believe in kindness. I really believe that I want the world to be a kinder place, and I want, like, at the very end of my life, when they ask who was Blaize, they will say Blaize was a kind person.
Yeah.
And so, with the Burrito Project, I hope it can be a platform for me to be able to, reach out to communities, be it schools, high schools, or also corporate entities and businesses, so that they can also see how can we as a company or a business be kind.
Yeah.
How can we also serve the community? That is not just like a rubber stamp thing that we just do, but like really connected, really impactful, that the people in our business who are, going out and volunteering, they're actually doing something meaningful that brings that joy and sense of self that we feel when we are kind to people.
Yeah,
So,
when we help people
when
out.
we help people out.
Help the not even less fortunate, just
Yeah.
currently less fortunate.
Yeah, currently less fortunate, because I see kindness in so many ways. There are people who have also been kind to me, right? There is somebody who was kind to my dad. My dad, probably had maybe 16, 17 siblings, and he moved to the city, and somebody, took care of him. He finally had an education. He's now had kids. He's now the chief of my village.
Oh,
He
wow.
became the chief of my village. There was no electricity and water. He helped bring electricity and water there. Like the schools, no teachers wanted to come there. He helped put some solar panels and all of those things and incentivize them. And in about 10 or 20 years, nobody had been able to move from the junior high school to senior high school. But because of those changes, he was able to do that.
Wow.
And you just see that, impacting one person's life can have such a ripple effect. And that's one of the things that I believe in, that sometimes people feel like you have to change everybody, but this world has the Gandhis, the Nelson Mandelas, who are just one people, one person who has been able to affect the world, and that's how I see. Like, you do good, you do random acts of kindness, but the goal is that there's probably one person that you're going to change their life, and this person is going to change the lives of 100, 1,000,
Yeah.
10,000 people. And so I really believe in kindness, and I want to hone my skills of being able to do that more, and also allow myself to receive more so I can continue to give more. My dad is, when I even look at myself and everything I do, when I think about my dad, I've not even reached his level. He's the kindest human being to a fault.
Right.
And at some point in my life, I kind of didn't like him for that, because I was
Sure.
like, hey, bro, you're out there helping people, and I don't have soccer cleats. I could have gone for a taekwondo class.
Yeah.
But I grew up, and I'm kind of walking in that footsteps, and I feel like that's my calling,
Yeah.
and that's who I want to be. That's who I want to be known as. I want to learn from the lessons of my dad, because as he was doing this, he didn't take care about the cash inflow.
Right.
So when he lost his job, and all of those retirement and everything ended, you realize that, oh snap, now even though I want to help people, you have to have money to be able
You've
to
gotta
do
have
that.
income,
You gotta
yeah.
have an income. So my goal, one of my goals is like, okay, I want to continue to be kind, but I want to make sure that I have that source of income, or that network of people that I can continue to do this, so that money will not be a reason why I can't be kind to somebody. So
Yeah.
that's
You
the
want to
lesson
live comfortably while you can still pursue the
Yeah.
business venture and make sure that it's a well-oiled machine, so you can also have this project and then this project's going on, and you can kind of
yeah
pick and move what you want to do.
yeah
That makes a lot. And I think you're going about it the right way anyway. You've got the project up and running. Now you can step away for a little bit, see what it looks like, come back, and then possibly have another
Yeah.
venture
possibly have another
coming down the
venture.
pipeline.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Well, Blaize, I'm going to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Want to say thank you for coming in, kind of explaining everything about the Reno Burrito Project and everything that went into it. Before we do let you go ahead and promote the socials, the website, where everybody can find anything related to that, and all of your personal stuff.
All right. So, do I have to look at the camera?
Yeah, you can do this one.
So, as I said, it's the Reno Burrito Project. I think I have a T-shirt that says that.
Oh, yeah.
Reno Burrito Project. And we are on Instagram, Facebook. We just started a LinkedIn page that we are going on. We have a website, Reno Burrito Project, at www.renoburritoproject. Our email is renoburritoproject@gmail.com. You can contact us over there, and we are always happy to respond and collaborate with people and see how we can be of service to you and also your venture. Me personally, I'm also into how can we inspire people to be kinder people? How can we inspire people to, achieve their goals and, have a vision, have a plan? I am here because of a 10, 20-year plan. I'm in the 5 years of it.
Right.
And I think it's just amazing to see the effects of actually writing something down. And I can literally tell you there are things that I've written down, and I can read them from 3 years ago and say, like, this has actually happened to me. So if you also are interested in getting some mentorship and some guidance also there, like my personal page is Blaize Abuntori on Instagram, Facebook. And if you Google my name, you probably see within the Reno area like a bunch of articles and stuff about the Reno Burrito Project and also my personal stuff. So
Great.
feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to
Help you out.
help you out.
Well, Blaize, thank you. You guys know what to do. Give everything a follow. All of the information will be down below. For us here, Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, and it's Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to get more information on us, Blaize, anything here, the email for the show is longleysline@gmail.com, along with getting a little bit of merch. Never hurt anybody. So send us a message there if you want to. Like all the social medias. Check out the Reno Burrito Project. We'll talk to you guys next week.